Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and I am here with my Week 3 battle for the MPL versus Tone, coach of the Maine Red Clawitzers. And we're going to be hopping into it in just a moment. I do suggest you guys check out the team building video from yesterday if you haven't already seen it. But in case you haven't, we'll go through the team real fast. I have a Mirror Coat Superior with Leech Seed and Leaf Storm and Synthesis. I have a Spikes Quillfish with Thunderwave. I have a Physically Defensive Donphan with Rocks. Assault Vest Metagross with Grass Knot for hitting Swampert. I have a DD 2 attacks Roost Charizard, pretty standard, and then I have a sub bulk up Braviary. So Tone has brought Raikou, Celesteela, Lycanroc, Swampert, Gardevoir, and Mega Venusaur. So right off the bat, I'm so thrilled not to be seeing the Hydreigon on my opponent's side of the field. That thing was a huge nuisance to me. Really hard to deal with. So not having that around is extremely good. It makes me wish I didn't have the Assault Vest on Metagross so much. Like, Assault Vest is still nice for Guard and for Venusaur, but I kind of had it on there to be able to potentially tank a Dark Pulse, hit it up with Hammer Arm, and then finish it off with Bullet Punch. But it is what it is. Not a big deal. Other things, the Lycanroc is there. That's definitely his way of revenge killing Charizard. Whether it's Scarf or like Banded with a Celerock or whatever, remains to be seen. Swampert is his only real Zard switch-in. I am expecting like a Helmet Swampert to be able to try and check that thing. Venusaur is most likely expecting Spadef, because that allows him to check my Superior extremely well and also my Xurkitree relatively well. Celesteela, it could be bulky, it could be offensive. I mocked versus an offensive Celesteela. Shoutouts to Turbo for helping me with my mock. And yeah, looking at his team, like in terms of Scarfers, if it's not a Scarf Lycanroc, I guess Scarf Gardevoir potentially. Not that like Scarf Gardevoir makes a ton of sense. It doesn't really outspeed anything too critical on my team. I guess like maybe a non-Scarf Superior. Its speed ties with Scarf Braviary and things like that. So otherwise, I'm not really sure what guard it is. And Raikou, I was actually really surprised about, because I feel like I've got 3 pretty good electric checks with my Zard, my Superior, and my Donphan. So we'll have to see what sort of set he brings there. I'm going to leave with my Superior just because it threatens out almost everything that's not named Venusaur. And if he does leave with Venusaur, I can pretty safely go for a Mirror Coat, expecting either a Hidden Power Fire or a Sludge Bomb. So let's just go ahead and hit start and wish good luck, have fun to our good buddy Tone, and let's see how this match plays out. It is kind of a long one, so we do have it on 1.5 times speed. Hope that's okay with you guys. Thanks for bearing with me. So my Superior comes on out versus his Raikou, and I'm expecting most likely a Volt Switch here, or I guess maybe a Hidden Power Ice. So Mirror Coat seems like a reasonable play because his pivot into this thing is Venusaur if he wants to Volt Switch into it. But he reveals the Toxic instead, so very clumsy turn 1 from me. Not going to be working out all that great. And I do switch on into my Donphan, and this thing goes for a Substitute. So I don't know if switching into Donphan was necessarily the right play, because now this thing also has to get Toxic, but at least I can threaten this thing quite a bit more. And the fact that this thing has Pressure also helped me decide to go into Donphan, because I only have 8 Leaf Storms, right? So if he has Pressure, then that means I only have 4. And of course this thing has Pressure. I don't think it has access to its hidden ability yet, or anything like that. So not only is he Toxic, but he is Subtoxic. So this is actually a really smart bring versus me, because the 3 electric checks that I named off are all pretty vulnerable to Subtoxic, so definitely annoying on his end. He pivots out, and I'm going to take this as an opportunity to set up my Stealth Rocks as Celesteela does come in. And so my best pivot into this thing is my Charizard. Yeah, I am pretty bulky with my set here, so I figure I can come in and take an Air Slash and or potentially Giga Drain if you chose to click that. But the amount of damage that this thing did reveals that this is actually a modest max special attack Celesteela, so that's very good to know. It means he's definitely offensive, meaning I'm going to be fearing the Autotomize throughout this entire battle. So that dictates some of my plays throughout the game. But I figure I can just go ahead and Roost, no big deal. I'm going to go into my Superior now. If the Swampert has Toxic, I'm not all that worried about it, because obviously I am already Toxic, but I can easily take this Earthquake. And My Superior is now in. It's threatening out this Swampert. I'm expecting his Venusaur to come in, so I'm going to make a double and go on into my Metagross. And this is actually really nice because with the Swampert having already switched in once on rocks, it's at 94%. It doesn't show leftovers, so I am again assuming Rocky Helmet because that makes most sense for dealing with Zard. It's going to switch in once more on rocks, as you see here, drop to 88%. And 88% allows my Metagross to definitely knock out this thing with a combination of Zen Headbutt and Grass Knot. So this is extremely good because his one really good defensive check for Charizard is now dead. So don't really have to worry about that. If I find a way to eliminate the Lycanroc, I can set up to +1 and win the game. So, you know, I don't really have anything that lures in Lycanroc. You know, Lycanroc is not nearly a Pokemon that switches in on things, period. So it might be a challenge, but we'll get to that when we get there. So I bring in my Quillfish on this Celesteela because I am fearing the Autotomize, and I want to try and get it in front of this thing and T-Wave it. But he makes a really smart play, actually, and he goes on into his Raikou and takes the T-Wave. I don't know if he was scouting for that, or if he just didn't really fear my Quillfish with his Raikou. You know, Quillfish doesn't really have a ton of ability to threaten this Raikou, but as you can see, it does at least do enough with Liquidation to break the sub. The crit I calced didn't really matter unless he's like a weird Fizz-Def set, but he did have enough speed for, or I guess you don't know this yet, but he does have enough speed for Superior on his Raikou. I went for Mirror Coat, which is why I definitely outslowed the first turn. But anyway, I clicked Liquidation versus the sub on the first turn, switched in my Donphan on the next Thunderbolt, and he goes for Protect as I go for Roar. So that's really nice versus his sub Protect strategies, being able to roar him out. That set is, I mean, people are going to say, like, oh, you know, he just brought, like, a Stally set or whatever. It's actually amazing in this matchup versus me. Like, I'm quite impressed that he chose to bring it. Certainly, it's annoying, but, you know, I'm not going to knock anybody for bringing competitive strats. Like, that's the game we play. So, anyway, I, excuse me, switching my Metagross on this Venusaur that eventually comes in. And this is the thing I was fearing, like, pretty much this, you know, going into this battle, was Sleep Powder Venusaur. He is able to put my Metagross to sleep, which really, really sucks. It makes his Gardevoir a whole lot scarier because I don't really have a switch into it that can threaten it at all. And then this Venusaur kind of has free reign. Like, I do have my Braviary here, and I do switch it in. This is going to put me in a pretty good position. Actually, I dodged at HP Ground from that Venusaur, which is really good to know. He doesn't have HP Fire. You know, HP Ground, I guess, allows him to hit other things, like it hits Quillfish a little bit harder and whatever. So it worked out. I could go for sub with Braviary. He switches in his Raikou hard, which is probably the smart play. And we are able to get a little bit of damage off on this thing eventually. I don't want to take a T-Bolt here. Depending upon what sort of investment this thing has, we might not live. And so I'm just going to go into my Superior. And he makes a nice heads-up play and goes for the Substitute. And so because he is at a pretty low range amount of HP, he kind of has to protect this turn in order to get in range of potentially subbing again, or at least, you know, in the near future. So he does sub, or sorry, he does protect, and this means that I can Synthesis. And the next several turns are going to be going back and forth like this, of us, you know, kind of trading between recovery moves, protect, etc., etc. Like I said, this is a pretty long battle. But, you know, it's as much as it stinks, I've got 2 Pokemon Toxic and 1 gone to sleep. We are up 6-5, and I do think at the end of this exchange that the Raikou will have lived out its useful life. So that is pretty nice for me. And all the while, you know, I'm getting boosts on my Superior. Not that it really matters when there's a Venusaur on the field, but, you know, it definitely is a threat versus him, and he has to take appropriate action versus that. So he does go for another Substitute now that he's recovered enough leftovers to get back into that range. And this next turn, yeah, he can go for a Protect, and I will end up clicking Synthesis on that just because, you know, I am obviously racking up quite a bit of toxic damage at this point. So he goes for Protect, and we'll have to try and, you know, get our Synthesis off. Then we'll go for a Leaf Storm on this next play because it's going to do pretty good damage to whatever comes in. Even like a bulky Venusaur, like versus a +6 Leaf Storm, which I don't think we are quite yet. I'm pretty sure we're only +4. But versus +6, a bulky Venusaur still takes like 50 or so, if I'm not mistaken. So he goes for a double Protect and does not get it, which is good. That allows us to take out this Raikou on this turn. And we leave ourselves with, you know, actually a pretty decent amount of HP even after Toxic. I think we're going to be at like 40%. Yeah, that's almost exactly where we are. So now this Venusaur comes in. My original thought was to just basically sack this thing, because, you know, I'm expecting him to go for Sludge Bomb and take me out, but he actually goes for Synthesis. And so since this game is actually turning out to be pretty stally so far, like, Timer is something that is playing in the back of my mind. So I figure having Superior preserved could be important, because obviously if you have, you know, one or more bonds than your opponent has, when Timer runs out, you will win the game. And so having that around I thought was useful. I thought that I could then go into Braviary, because if he's just going to Synthesis again as I spam my last Leaf Storm, you know, he would go for Synthesis and I can get my Braviary in freely. Instead, I take a Sludge Bomb, I'm forced to Roost on the next turn, and then he just continues to hit me with Sludge Bombs and he gets a Poison, which really stinks, because I actually probably would have been able to, like, not stall this thing out, but, like, this exchange would be a lot easier, I guess is what I'm trying to say, if I hadn't gotten poisoned. You know, but it's 30% chance, so it's obviously not, like, unfair. I'm not trying to whine. But it's I'm just stating a fact that it would have been a whole lot easier to win this exchange if I hadn't gotten poisoned. But so I'm trying to, like, figure out, okay, is there a way where I can, like, get up substitutes and potentially start bulking up? Because right now the only thing that can potentially take a hit from this thing at +1 is the Celesteela. But Celesteela is offensive. It actually isn't going to appreciate the Brave Bird. And depending upon, I mean, at this point we've seen that it's especially leaning, right? So the Air Slash that it has is going to be able to break my sub. But yeah, again, we are going to outspeed it. Well, I guess it depends on how much investment he has. I think I have enough investment on my Braviary to outspeed Celesteela. I don't recall exactly. But we would be able to potentially get off two Brave Birds, you know, one while we're behind a substitute, and then a second one after our substitute's been broken, and we can break that thing down. Because right now, the only thing that's going to be able to break down the Celesteela is my Charizard, and so being able to take pressure off of that would be really nice. But anyway, this strategy just isn't going to work because we are poisoned, so, you know, it is what it is. We are going to go ahead and take out that Venusaur, and now Lycanroc comes in. And so, on the off chance that this thing is an SD set, I don't want to let it set up for free. I'm rather just sack my Braviary, and then you know, see what sort of moveset this thing is. And he does reveal Life Orb, so that's very good to know. I bring in my Donphan, and he's definitely going to be switching out. I thought he'd be switching out into Celesteela, because my Donphan really has no way to touch the Celesteela. But instead he goes into Gardevoir, and I double into my Zard. Again, I doubled into my Zard expecting the Celesteela, but I'm pretty much okay with this exchange too. If he's like a Scarf Gardevoir, like I was potentially thinking, like in Team Builder, or sorry, in Team Preview, like he can only do like 50% to me with Moonblast, but instead he turns out to be Trick Room, and now I'm immediately regretting going for the Dragon Dance. And in retrospect, Dragon Dance was never the play, because if I had to take a hit from Gardevoir, it would have put me in range of the Accelerock. Excuse me, the Accelerock from the Lycanroc anyway. So if he wasn't Scarf, like he turned out not to be, he gets you know, I Dragon Dance and he gets off a hit on me, or he gets the opportunity to set up a Trick Room like he did. And, you know, basically, if I had just clicked Flare Blitz, I would have killed that thing. And then Lycanroc would have come in and be able to Revenge Kill me, but Lycanroc would be revealed to Revenge Kill me anyway, whether I clicked DD or not. So DD was basically a waste, because it gave him an opportunity to either hit me with a move or go for the Trick Room like he did. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I'll reflect on it a little bit more when the match is over. As you can see, the Celesteela comes in, and my team is in really bad shape. I ended up sacking my Zard to the Gardevoir because it hit me off with a Pixie Plate Moonblast, which I wasn't expecting. If he wasn't Pixie Plate, if he was just, you know, like a no boosting item, we would have taken only like 55%, and then we probably wouldn't have died to Recoil. But we got brought down to almost 25%, and then died to the Flare Blitz Recoil, which is quite a bummer. And then now this Celesteela has several turns of Trick Room, where it can just blow through my team. And I really have no ability to hit the Celesteela for anything whatsoever. You know, after the match, Tone asked me if Metagross had Thunder Punch. I did not, but it wouldn't have mattered because obviously my Metagross was asleep. I went into my Metagross hoping that I can get like the first turn Wake, and I could at least hit it with some sort of damage, like from Hammer Arm or something. But it ended up not working out. And after being up 5-3, we ended up with a 2-0 loss, which is really quite a bummer. So to run it back to the Charizard play, just to see if I can more elegantly explain myself now that the match is over and I'm not trying to race versus the turns. If he is Scarf, he's going to hit me with a move no matter what. If he is not Scarf, he'll only be able to hit me with a move if I set up a DD. If I don't set up a DD and I hit him, I'll kill him with Flare Blitz even if he's max HP. And so if he hits me with a move from Choice Scarf, that plus Flare Blitz, a recoil, puts me in range of Accelerock from Lycanroc. If I just kill it right off the bat, I'm still in range of Lycanroc. Like, either way, like, no matter which play I made, he was going to be able to revenge kill me. So clicking Dragon Dance didn't put me in a position to win. In fact, it weakened my position because it gave him the opportunity to go for Trick Room, and that pretty much obliterated my team. That wasn't even the biggest misplay, though. The biggest misplay was leaving my Zard in after the Trick Room went up. Because without Zard, I obviously had no chance whatsoever versus Celesteela. It was quite unfortunate. That thing got 5 kills versus me. And it wasn't quite the set that I expected. Like, maybe he still had a Totemized, but he was like a slow Totemized. I don't know if that makes sense or not. But it was just a really brilliant bring on Tone's part. Like, I'm quite impressed with his team building in this game. Like, all of his sets were really solid. Excuse me. Sleep Powder Venusaur, brilliant. I really wish I had brought Safety Goggles on Metagross, but you know, it would have been... I kind of wanted the Assault Vest to be able to potentially take at least one hit from Hydreigon, because nothing else on my team could. Not that Metagross very well can either, but you guys know what I mean. You know, but otherwise, like, the Metagross set worked out really nice. It was a great lure for the Swampert, which is exactly what I wanted. And without having Arcanine on my opponent's side of the field, like, that really would have paved the way for Zard. I just shouldn't have clicked DD, and then I shouldn't have let it go down to the guard. And, you know, I was caught off guard. I was, you know, no pun intended, I was caught off guard by the Pixie Plate doing so much recoil damage. Or, sorry, doing so much damage, and then that plus recoil was able to kill me. If my Zarda had been able to live, I could have preserved it for Celesteela, and then potentially would have been able to bring it back after Trick Room turns had expired. But it just didn't work out for me that way. So I'm quite kicking myself for those plays with the Zard versus the Gardevoir, but no, I just gave it up to Tone. Really nice battle, and we're going to you know, be moving on in the MPL with a 2-1 record, and we're going to be going up against Hera Horde in Week 4, and it's going to be quite an exciting match. I actually have a number of transactions I made after this week, so I'm going to be uploading a video probably like on Monday detailing the changes. I hope you guys will like them. I think that it makes my team a little bit safer versus Psychic and Fairy types, which are very threatening versus my team. It gives me a little bit more hazard removal potential, which I think has been not hindering my team, but, you know, it's always nice to have more options, especially when it's required on a Megazard team. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Shoutouts to Tone, really great battle. Bummed I couldn't pull it off, especially after, you know, we fought so hard against the Raikou and everything else. But, you know, it is what it is. We'll just have to get him the next time. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you check back the channel for other gaming and Pokemon content. Until the next time, I'll see you guys later.